From first hunts to lifelong traditions, we're here to honor the heritage, hear the passion, and connect through the stories that make us all hunters. Grab your gear, find your stand, and listen in as we share another journey that shapes a hunter's legacy. This episode is brought to you by LogIQ Hunt, an app designed for the future of hunting, helping you prepare with purpose and pursue with precision. Well, here we go. First live guest. I know you guys who probably listened to the previous episode got sick of hearing me talk solo about myself for a full episode, so I promise that's going to be the only solo episode we do. For our first guest, we have a good friend of mine, Mitchell Kearns. I actually met Mitchell when I went looking for advice on how to start a company a couple years ago, which if you start following this podcast, LogIQ Hunt is a company I started to help hunters here in the future. But Mitchell just happened to connect with me. He is with the Iowa Small Business Development Center and kind of works throughout Iowa. He's the technology director, so I was really fortunate to partner with him, and he's helped me a lot to kind of get started on this company. I'm not sure I would have followed through if it wasn't for him. So if you're in Iowa and looking to start a company, I highly recommend touching base with Iowa SBDC. Like I said in the previous episode, we're just trying to bring some average Joes on here, get some real life scenarios, and kind of bring in a little bit of the personal life and find out why people are so passionate about hunting just like we all are. So welcome, Mitchell. Glad to have you here.
Yeah. I think you would have for sure pursued it. I think it would have just probably taken a little bit longer, and we would have probably made a few more mistakes.
It's just when somebody approaches starting a new business, it's just so overwhelming. You know, where do you start? Working with you, kind of helping them break down piece by piece on let's do this, and this, and going to live plan on the business plan are the two biggest things that saved my rear end. Otherwise, you just get so overwhelmed.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the things that you already had this idea in your head.
You know,
I mean, you had all the brilliant ideas. You just had to figure out a way to like purposefully put them down on a piece of paper and then like purposefully act on each one of those ideas. So you already had a lot of the components there. But yeah, we've been working together almost 2 years. We were just talking about that before the birth of my kid, Nolan, in which I had taken a couple of months off. But yeah, you have come a long ways from like, and I have too, because I've learned, I mean, you were one of my first software startup companies that I had helped. And I think we learned a lot together.
you know,
With that. Who was your friend that helped us with the analytics? That was really cool that he shared that insight with us.
Grant Hilbert.
Yeah, that he was really helpful.
Yep, I just met with him last week. So I was one of your first software companies. How long have you been with the SBDC?
2 years. So you were literally like one of my first clients. I think the connection between I was the technology director and I'm a bow hunter, and you sign up through our Iowa State University SBDC Center. And so Leah's like, you have to meet Mitchell. He's really neat. Like he's right up your alley. He's trying to do like a bow hunting app, and you bow hunt, and you're a technology director. And so after that, we met and we clicked, and I think we've met probably a good, 20, 25 times. We text. Like, yeah, you're a friend now. I mean, like it's cool when clients turn into friends. That's like the most rewarding part about my job is where it's like, wow, like not only do I get to work with this person like as a colleague, but like as like someone I can text like my cool gear picture to, and we can congratulate each other.
Maybe you can kind of expand a little bit on some of the other stuff you've done for your role in terms of you've obviously helped me get to where I am, but what kind of drives you in your professional field?
Yeah. Well, originally I started off as an attorney. So I am a licensed attorney. I also an entrepreneur. So when I started law school in 2017, and I didn't really know, I just knew I kind of wanted to help people. I kind of had the idea of being maybe like a prosecutor, like working for a county attorney's office. So summer of 2018, 2019, I did that. I worked for the Polk County Attorney's Office. I worked in their juvenile division. Really helped out and learned a lot, but I kind of got jaded from that experience. Seeing a lot of parents who treated their kids horribly, some juvenile delinquents, like kids who commit crimes, and you just get jaded. You kind of see the worst of the world every day, and then you start to envision that onto other people. And So I was like, I want to be my own boss. I want to decide what cases I take. So during the last year of my law school, I read a bunch of books on how to start my own business. Starting a law firm is relatively easy. As it turns out, you just need kind of a computer, a printer, a space to meet clients, and your know-how, and the willingness to go to court and do that. I did that for 2 years. I was kind of picking up some bigger corporate clients, some municipalities, and I decided I need a mentor in this. I want some support because I was getting a lot of work. I wanted some assistance. And so I joined another law firm, and I had some bosses, and they were all good guys, really knowledgeable, but I just didn't like having a boss. I felt a little micromanaged at that law firm. So I had saved up enough money to take a couple of months off, and decided that I wanted to help people and not feel like I had to bill them $300 an hour at the end of the day. Just like purposefully help people still use my law degree, and use it knowledgeably. My wife's uncle-in-law, Ray Hansen, said, hey, there's this position at the Small Business Development Center, which I had never heard of the Small Business Development Center. Even though I had started my own business, I had never heard of it. So I looked it up. I realized it was kind of a reputable organization, been around for over 60 years. And I said, wow, this is really cool that they just provide business counseling services. So I applied, I got the job. And yeah, so my first couple of weeks on the job, they kind of trained us in the life plan. They trained us in that business model canvas, which I had you do when we first started. I shadowed a couple other business counselors, and I kind of quickly realized like, this is right up my alley. Like, I really, really enjoy this. And so my role as the tech director, they kind of were like, well, there's 3 kind of things that you're doing simultaneously, and you kind of have to maintain. And so one of those things, I run a program called the Rural Business Innovators Program. And in this program, it's kind of providing metropolitan business counseling service to rural entrepreneurs. So a lot of our business resources are currently geared towards like academics, like Iowa State University, folks around Ames, folks around Des Moines, folks around a community college. But a lot of that isn't geared towards rural entrepreneurs who don't maybe have the time to spend 4 hours a week during the middle of the day on their business. And so we're like, let's take the best of the programs that we have at Iowa State, make them available after hours for rural business clients. And that program, because you just pitched in October and won some money. I think you got third
place. Yeah.
Which you did a really good job. I thought your presentation was really good. But yeah, it's one of our programs. You've kind of walked through all the steps of what we would walk a normal RBI client through. The business model canvas, customer discovery, market research, prototype development, and then kind of next steps, mentorship. So that's one of the programs. Another program, kind of spare your listeners, it's the Small Business Innovative Research Grant Program. It's a very, very complicated program, but basically it's a federally funded program to help federal agencies in their research objectives. Convoluted, it's basically helping folks procure federal grants. And then I kind of just work with any technology or software startup company across the state of Iowa. That's like the 3 big objectives. And then I kind of get pulled here, there, and everywhere being a lawyer. And I'm not a lawyer for the SBDC. So I got to make that clear to most of my clients that I can't be your lawyer. But as like you ask me questions, I can like look over things and say, hey, beware of this, beware of that. And I can tell you probably when you need to go see a lawyer.
I'm kind of guessing you're similar to me. The older we get, the harder it is to hunt. Do you feel like with your current role that you get the flexibility to hunt, or has hunting just kind of taken a lower priority now that you have the child and working full time and all that good stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, my role at Iowa State, I get paid very reasonably, but I don't get paid probably what I would in the private sector as a lawyer. Again, I'm not charging $300 an hour. Like, our services are free. I get paid through federal grant programs. The nice thing about my position is I do get a lot of time off. I do get time to spend with out in the woods. The hard part is like, it's not the job that's making it kind of giving me less hunting time. It's my kid, which I didn't realize you have all these hobbies that you do before a kid and then realize, wow, I do not have time to do them afterwards. So I think I got out to the tree stand. I was bow hunting probably, I don't know, 10 times this year, 8 times this year. Did a lot of early season. I hunted the rut for a weekend, maybe 2 weekends. And that's really all I got. I saw a couple of deer, a lot of doe, a little basket rat 8-point, which I kind of let walk. But yeah, and then I got to go shotgun hunting. I got to go out one day shotgun hunting, and that's actually where I shot my buck this year. But you kind of take for granted the days when you were 19 in college during Thanksgiving break and you just have all this time where, well, I can spend all day and nap in my truck and then go in the afternoon. Like I miss that, but I think it kind of makes me enjoy hunting a little bit more. When I was going a lot, I would play around on my phone, probably miss some deer because of that, looking down at your phone. And now I like take it all in for granted. Like even when it's cold and you're freezing and you're like, God, it's nice to be out here. It's nice to be away for a little bit, away from the world, away from the high paced, you're just here. It's you, the woods, the critters, and that's it. So, but yeah, it has taken, it's mostly because of having a kid, man. That's kind of priority number one.
Yeah, I don't know if you struggle with this as much as I do, but even when you do find the time to go out, like I'm a firm believer that everybody has the same amount of time to hunt. It's just where is it on their priority list? Like you're not going to put hunting above the prioritization of your child. But even when I'm out there hunting, it's like, God, I should be doing something else. Like I could be getting so much work done right now. So that's something I need to work on better. I don't know if you're able to just clear your mind when you get out there.
That's kind of, I do. Honestly, it's like a reset for me. It actually helps me when I do think that way, like, wow, I have so much to do. It actually helps me prioritize what I actually really need to do first. Because I have a lot of time out there to just think. And so I'm like, wow, first, I kind of do that in my own head, even when I go to work of like, I usually have a list of 7 to 10 tasks I want to get done for the day. And the objective is to get through 5 to 7 of those tasks. And then you always have like the intermediary, like wildfires that come up here and there that you got to put out. But I think it helps me reset. And then like, it gives me like a new sense of like drive. So like, I'm like, well, I just spent this time. Now Sunday, I got to do a little bit of work to make up for it. But honestly, the hardest part for me is my bow hunting ground is down in Southwest Iowa, down in Ringgold County. So the hardest part for me, and I live in Guthrie County, hardest part for me is the drive. So I have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, usually have coffee ready, get the truck going, get out there. And it's an hour and a half, 2-hour drive down south to be hunting for 8 hours to drive 2 hours back. And so that's the time I really feel like I wasted is like, man, I just drove 4 hours to hunt for 8 hours. The hunting feels totally worth it, but it's the drive down to my hunting land is what feels like, I'm like, God, I just wish I had somewhere closer. It's great property. I can't complain about that, but it's just the location of where it's at.
Yeah, I didn't realize you're driving that far. I'm similar boat. My ground is 2 hours away, and during the rut, I'll stay at my dad's because he lives up there. But late season, I got so much other stuff going on. I just drive up there, leave at noon, hunt, and come back 2 hours one way. And sounds like you're in the same boat. Not everybody's in that situation. There's people that, in order to get on good ground or get on ground, they got to put in a lot more effort than some people. So interesting
Yeah,
that
and
you bring that up.
I'm lucky. I don't have to hunt. Like there's public ground in Guthrie County. It's some really good ground actually 5 miles away from me. I'm lucky though, because it's like, this is our property. It's about 120 acres, probably 80 acres of that's wooded, and the rest of it's in CRP. And it's in between a river, a small river, and rotating corn and soybean fields, but really, really good land. It's just the of getting down there and getting situated, and then like all the problems that come with it, right? So like you forget, like my brother had that problem this year, and it's kind of a funny story. So we wake up and me and my brother will go hunt together because he lives in Adel and I live in Panora, and so we'll meet in Stewart and we'll ride together. And he drives me because I'm probably a little bit more ambitious than him. I love bow hunting. I love getting out there. I love being early because I think you see more things. And so we get out, we meet, and we take my truck and he's loading his gear up, and we get down there and he's like, man, I forgot my release. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? What do you mean you forgot? How do you forget the one thing that you need next to your bow? And so he was just like, well, I'll just kind of sit here by the truck and you go hunt and have a good time. And then, so I go out to my tree stand, I get set up, and he texts me. He's like, dude, you have a flat tire. What? And he's like, yeah, your back right tire is like completely flat. And so like, it's like those things, like the things that can go wrong 2 hours away from home. It's just like adds another level of like complication, where if I was 5 minutes from home, I would probably be hunting a lot more.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's always one of those things like it's bright, like the grass is greener on the other side, but then you like look back and you're like, well, I have like land to hunt that no one else can hunt.
Yeah. Something around, not having to worry about who else is going to show up. Am I going to have anybody walk under my tree stand?
Yeah.
Kind of makes it worth the drive a little bit.
Yeah. And I've done some hunting. There was like my grandpa bought this land back in 2008, got a really good deal on it. But he's actually the one who taught me how to bow hunt. And he, for a long time, was a school teacher working on a school teacher's budget and did it for 30 years. And he had IPERS benefits, which is the Iowa retirement benefits that school teachers get. And he had finally saved up enough money to buy these tracts of land. And before a long time, he was hunting on another guy's property that he had to get permission for. And it was a local farmer who just wanted to see dead deer because they kept biting into his, his cash crop. They kept eating all of his grain or his beans. And so he would let any hunter out there. But then the issue is you set up tree stands and it's on private ground. And you walk out there and there's someone sitting in your trail
Well, that's
stand.
the worst.
Oh man, it's like, but like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna sit there and argue with him and ruin your day. You're gonna ruin his day, and you're not gonna get any hunting done. But we've done that. Prior to owning that land, we did that. Going out to someone, asking for places to hunt, getting permission, then going out and realizing someone's in your spot, so you have to go to your other stand, which isn't good for the wind. And but. So I've done both sides of it. I've been kind of going out with grandpa since 6, 7, 8 years old. He would take me out and I was probably, bless his heart, I was probably so miserable, man. Having a kid now, like being ornery, talking, dude, like, I don't know, like, dude, he was a retired school teacher, so he could go out whenever he wanted. So I think he just loved the fact that I wanted to go with him. And so, I mean, it was to the point where I loved it so much that one of my first grade teachers, Miss Saltzgaver, she was a bow hunter. Believe it or not, she had some really good bow hunting land north of Dexter. So grandpa called her and said, "Hey, I just shot a really nice buck. I want to track it." And so he came and picked me up from school one time to go track a deer, and we found him. He was down in this river bend. I helped grandpa pull it up, and it's just a really cool story where it's kind of a smaller community. Everyone kind of knows each other. There's a lot of bow hunters. So we have shared experiences in hunting. But yeah, I've been hunting for a long time, going out with grandpa. And then I actually got my first bow and I started shooting kind of like a league in DeSoto, Iowa, where they had kind of an archery shop on the backside of a radiator. Clark would fix up these radiators. Yeah. And so it was a cool shop that we would go to. It had those, those 5 rung. We would shoot those, and there was kids. It was a lot, usually dads that would go and shoot the league, and they'd bring their kids. And we were shooting at 10 yards. They were shooting at 20 yards, and they would I think shoot 10 rounds and 5 arrows, and then they'd point the scores, and then you'd have like a league winner and a handicap, and it was a really cool deal. Made it fun, and that's where I really started practicing and got really, really accurate as a bow hunter. And then we would all share deer stories. There'd be jerky. You'd hear other stories from the other dads or the other grandpas in the shop. And then, I went out for the first time when I was probably 13 years old and shot my first deer at that public ground in one of our favorite louder stands it's private ground, but you got to have, permission. And there's a lot of people that had permission to hunt it. So I treated it like it was public.
You remember what kind of bow you started off with?
Man, so my grandpa is an avid PSE guy. I don't know why. And so I'm sure, and I always had hand-me-downs, but that was like one bow that he specifically bought he actually bought one for me and my older brother. It was a bow that you could like a starter bow. You buy at 13. It was a PSE something. And I think like minimum poundage was like 20, but it would get up to 50. It was one of those bows that you'd like use when you're 12 to 18 years old if you have enough money to actually go and buy a nice one.
One of those kit bows you'd buy from Cabela's or something. Whatever
something
works,
like that.
Man.
Yeah. But yeah, I shot the heck out of it. I was accurate. I didn't realize how much of a difference there was in just field point. That's where you really learn like wind variation in your, my grandpa was always like a kind of, we always used compound bows, but he was like a fixed blade believer. He loved fixed blades. And so we always used the Thunderhead 125, so fixed blade. But man, you throw a Thunderhead 125 on and it shoots radically different than a field point, especially in wind environment. It just pushes it all over. So getting efficient with that is kind of a different story.
Let me guess, you're on expandables now.
Well, so I did. So I started 2 years. 2 years I've done them. I still have my Thunderheads just because it has like a special place in my heart. But yeah, I am using Grim Reaper Deer Hunter specials. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're gnarly. They have like a 3.5-inch cutting radius. They are, or maybe even a 4-inch cutting. They're the largest cutting radius that you can get.
Really?
And so it has like 2 fins that are like 1.5 inches, or probably an inch, maybe 1.5 inches. And then they have 2 other fins that come out probably a solid 2 inches. And I shot a deer with it was kind of an ugly shot. She was kind of back a little bit from the vitals, but it expanded long enough that I had actually double lunged this deer, and it dropped, a doe that I'd killed 2 years ago, and it dropped 20 yards from me. That same night, my grandpa actually had shot a really big buck, and that's one of the pictures on my Instagram. Not a big, but big buck for his age. My grandpa still goes out, man. We still go.
Yep.
He is 82 years old or 83 years old, and he's still going out, and he still has the motivation. And he went out probably 3 times as much as I did this year, because he has obviously the time to do it. But yeah, he shot a really nice buck that night. So yeah, we celebrated a little bit. We had a beer or two back at our kind of our landing area where we have all of our stuff. We have a camper up there and stuff. But yeah, we were celebrating. It was a full moon. I remember the night vividly. It was a full moon night. Wind was out of kind of the northwest, really good for the. I was sitting in the south ladder stand, and he was kind of sitting more in the middle of our timber. I texted him, and he texted me. He's like, "Well, great, because I just spined a really nice buck. It's about 20 yards from me." So yeah, it was a cool night. It's one of those nights that I don't think I'd ever forget.
Now, is he driving 2 hours to hunt, or does he live down there?
He lives in Stewart, so it's about probably an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 15 minutes. But man, he's a retired school teacher. Like he rarely hunts the morning.
Really?
He's more of I'll get to, he does his exercising. That's probably the reason, honestly, that he's still able to do it. He walks 2 miles every day, does his push-ups. But yeah, he drives about an hour and 15 minutes. He probably leaves, depending on fall back schedule, the what do they call that? The daylight savings.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, he probably leaves around 12 or 1 o'clock and gets down there, gets in his tree stand, sets up about 2:30, and then he hunts the night. And I think I don't think he ever hunted the morning this year, maybe a couple times during the rut, but
he's still climbing up the tree stands at 83.
Man, and that scares the crap out of me. So like, that's kind of something me and my brother want to do for him. And I mean, he doesn't listen to podcasts, so I think we're in the clear, but I really want to, like, for Christmas, and I think next year, save up some money with my brother and get one of those, like those plastic, like kind of keep him outside of the elements. But yeah, he still climbs up a tree stand.
Like a redneck blind or something.
No, they're like legit. Yeah. Like a ground blind or something. He still does the climber stands, and
no kidding.
He does up like really, yeah, I swear. And he finds really good trees. He gets up there. He shot a buck this year. It was probably was a 140, 145 class buck. He shot a really nice one this year. And then so did my uncle shot a really nice buck. So my uncle shot a nice buck this year. My grandpa, and then I shot one. Kind of the only dud was my brother, and I let him know about it. He shot a doe, but we didn't get a buck this year.
He's still bow hunting as well, huh?
Yeah. Yep. Bow hunting. He went out shotgun hunting once. And that's actually when I shot my big buck. I'll tell you that story. It's kind of a funny one. So we went out shotgun hunting second season. I went down with my older brother in the morning. And like I said, dude, I don't get a lot of time to hunt anymore. So my freezer is empty. And that's really why I enjoy hunting, is I not only I shoot deer and I get the antlers but I eat the crap out of deer. Last year I went through 4 or 5 deer. And this year I haven't killed anything at this point, right? So I was like, gosh, I really got to get some deer in my freezer. So the morning hunt, me and my brother go out. It's a crazy good day. Like, there's people pushing all around us, and I'm up in a tree stand, which is like one of the funnest things for me to do as a hunter. The deer's, everything's stirring around you, but your property's really calm. So I was sitting up in a tree stand. I shot my first deer. I probably saw 25 deer that morning hunt. We called my grandpa. We told him about it. My older brother had shot a doe. And he said, well, I'm going to come down there and meet you guys. I'll probably hunt in the afternoon. And I had rode down with my older brother. And so we were talking, Grandpa gets down there and he's like, we asked him, I was like, well, do you still want to hunt? Do you still want to hunt the afternoon? And he said, sure. And so we go set up and, I was sitting in the tree stand called Mitchell's stand, and he was probably 200 yards to my south. And, I was sitting there. I didn't really want to hunt because I wanted to get back and start working on the deer that we had killed. And I was kind of paying attention to the college football scores. And I look up and it's right on our four-wheeler trail. I see a really nice buck coming down. And about 45 yards from me, he stops. He kind of quarters away. And I thought he was going to start taking off up towards the trail. He stops and gives me a really good shot. And I shot him and he took about a step and fell right over. And yeah, that was the big buck I killed this year.
What were you using for a weapon?
20 gauge.
20 gauge?
Just 20 gauge slug, yeah.
Never got into like the 350 Legends or 450 Bushmasters, just kind of going with old school?
I've never bought one myself. Dude, I've been broke for a long time, man. Going through law school, I never had like the spare and have a kid. Well, so I actually feel like at a place like financially, like I'm really solid now. And that's where I'm like, now I have the money to spend on a really nice gun. Now I have to figure out the platform and the caliber that I want to spend money on. But my dad gave me this 20 gauge a long time ago. And it's been the gun. I'm deadly accurate with it. So it's hard for me. And where I'm hunting, I'm usually hunting heavy wooded areas. I'm not usually set up over like our CRP ground. So really all I need is to be accurate within 50 or 60 yards. So now I'm at the point where, okay, maybe I do want to get a rifle and trying to figure out what caliber and what to use is kind of my next step.
Do you go shotgun hunting every year?
Last year I did just sitting. I do go with a group of guys too out in Guthrie County that push hunt. Last year I didn't do it. This year I did to just kind of help them fill some of their tags. But last year I didn't just because I had just had Nolan, and it still gives me like, I really trust those guys and they know that property. They know how to push it. They know the sitting point. We all know that property, where you're supposed to sit, where you're supposed to push, where you shoot, where you don't shoot. That's what makes me comfortable. But I just the thought of like, wow, I don't want to end up with a wife and a baby at home who's 5 months old. Like I was like, it's not worth it this year. Maybe next year.
Dangerous.
It is very dangerous. Yeah.
What's your opinion? To me, it seems like, especially shotgun seasons here in Iowa, have really evolved in the past 20 years from when I started to now. I'm not doing it, but kind of seeing people around. Give me your thoughts on that. You see any changes in the past 20 years?
As far as like party hunting or
party hunting, amount of hunting pressure?
So I've seen, it's kind of funny. So when I go hunt down south, I'll kind of do that example. When I go hunt down south, like the 3 busiest weeks so our property is on a dead end road. And it's like, it leads to our CRP ground. The road does all the way down on our CRP ground. So like there's usually nobody on that road, almost nobody. And I think in the 3 weeks of shotgun season, like there's probably more cars down that road, up and down that road, hunting the various properties around than there are all year. So to me, I do see a lot of party hunters. I think party hunting is more of a tradition for like Iowans. I do see some like out of state folks doing party hunts, but it's not as frequent. But yeah, it doesn't bother me too much. I mean, I've done it before. I don't know how much it's fun. It's kind of more of like, it's more active. It's kind of more exciting, but there's nothing like that deer I shot, that buck I shot this year. Looking up, seeing your deer 45 yards from you. It's really personal. There's no one else really around and you're shooting it and your excitement gets started. But I never party hunted as a kid. My grandpa never did it really either. He organized it a couple times when he was younger, when he had first started hunting. But he kind of stopped it just because it's kind of a lot to organize. You got to get the right group of guys there. You really don't want to train new people to do it, and hunter etiquette, hunter safety, where to point a gun. And so, yeah, it's fun for what it is, but I much prefer bow hunting to shotgun hunting. But when you have a freezer that's empty, you got to do what you got to do. And that's what I did this year.
I feel like, at least back home, the shotgun hunting pressure is way down. People would rather sit out and bow hunt or even if they are going shotgun season, they'll find a food source and sit out overnight. Man, when I was a kid, I mean, you couldn't drive a mile without seeing a truck that had Blaze Orange in it. Now you got to search pretty hard to find those groups.
Yeah, and it's funny to see that. I always find it funny because I never like broadcast my orange on my dad. Yeah, I always judge those people that have their orange hat stuffed up there. I'm like, you're an out-of-stater, dude. Get out of here. Like, I don't know why I think that way, but it's just like there's no reason for me to broadcast. I don't know. It's just kind of, but I did see a lot of them actually. I did see a lot of hunting down on my way between Guthrie Center or between Panora and our property down south. I did see that a lot of hunters. I don't know if it's like just certain areas that get more push hunting as compared to others, but I feel like Southwest Iowa, there was kind of quite a bit of push hunters that still do that practice of hunting. So no,
Bunch of rednecks down there, huh?
it gets ticky, but it also it's a lot of out of state hunting, dude. I there's like a lot of excursion hunting down there, high fence hunting. I mean, it's really good timber. It's really good in farm ground. Well, not farm ground. That's kind of what makes it good hunting ground is like the CSR ratings aren't the best. It's kind of silty type of soil. So that's why it's really attractive to not make it a cornfield, make it a CRP field and grow some timber ground because there's a lot of people that'll pay a lot of money to come hunt an Iowa buck in Southwest Iowa. And that's like this year, me and my brother were leaving bow hunting. We saw one of those trophy hunting outfits driving down a road and we looked up their site and I think they said they had over 50 with a combined 16,000 acres of land in Iowa for bow hunting, which to me, I'm like, that's just insane. Like it almost makes it hard for like someone who wants to own private land, who's like my grandpa. My grandpa couldn't go and buy land like he did on a school teacher salary. He couldn't do that today.
Yeah, hunting has just evolved so much over the past 5 to 10 years because of all these hunting television shows and stuff like that, and people starting to broadcast what they're doing. But hunting in most of the U.S. is kind of starting to follow that European model where it's a rich man's sport. Like people are buying hunting ground down in southern Iowa and paying double what it was when it was farm ground, and they're not generating any revenue off of it.
No, I mean, people are getting more money now from leasing hunting rights than they would leasing a 40-acre piece of land. Like that, it's crazy. It's crazy. That's why I feel blessed. Like my brother really gripes about the 2-hour drive going down there, but I'm like, listen, there's people that would die to have just property that they don't have to compete with other people to go hunt. Yeah, it's getting anymore. It's like one of those recreational activities where you have to kind of know someone, which sucks. I don't really like seeing a hunting turn that way. And the hard part about Iowa is there's not a lot of public ground like there is out in like maybe out in the West, like in Colorado or Utah or something like that. I think it's like, and you might know, it's like 99% of Iowa is privately owned ground.
Could be, yep.
It's a crazy amount of money. It's just because the land in Iowa holds so much value because of the farming operations. And so it just makes it hard for someone who wants to buy ground just to hunt it to do that anymore. You almost have to like inherit that ground to do it. It's kind of stinks.
Well, even down in southern Iowa, where the ground isn't good for anything other than pasture and cattle, you have all these rich people coming in and buying up thousands and thousands of acres and still taking that opportunity away. So it's really turning into a rich man's sport.
Yeah. Where's your hunting ground at?
I'm in north central Iowa.
Okay.
I don't have to deal with rich people, just a lot of Mennonite.
Yeah. Wait, so and you live in Ankeny. So yeah, I could see that being a 2-hour drive up there.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the hunting like up in northern Iowa? Did you guys was EHD an issue for you guys?
I'm sure it is, but it's never going to be as large scale as it is in southern Iowa. I don't know if that's because we're on a river bottom, so we have fresh water moving through. I don't know if that impacts it or not. I'm not a deer biologist, so that's just my perspective.
It was bad here,
Well,
in Guthrie County and it's in southern Iowa. I think it was kind of a cool little, I don't want to say experiment, but we had a trail cam set up we had actually seen a deer die. We call it near our bluff stand, but it's kind of an area where beavers have dammed up a part of our kind of like a bio or a creek area of our property. And these beavers dammed it up, and there's a standing water, and you could actually see a deer on the trail cam like die on the trail cam. And then like what came after was really fascinating, like the decomposition and the critters that came in and moved in and started like eating this deer. It's kind of gruesome, but you know, you'd see
It died in the view of the cell camera.
yeah. Yep. It kind of walked through, it laid down, and it never stood back.
That's pretty ironic that's right where
Insane. Yep. It was insane. And so because of that, you saw coyotes, you saw raccoons, you saw bobcats, you saw anything, vultures. You'd see anything that could eat on it was in there eating on it. So, yeah, it was kind of a cool little experiment to run because we saw a lot, but
hopefully it wasn't a giant.
No, it was I think they impact, if I'm not, I think they impact like younger deer more. It's kind of like they get the flu or a cold or something like that. I haven't seen any like big bucks die, because what you'll end up finding is like a dead head, you know, like a skull, like an antlered skull that still has the antlers on. And I found those when I was shed hunting. I found a couple of those like a couple of years back, like 3 or 4 years back, but I haven't found any dead heads. There is a piece of our land that's like notorious for finding dead heads. It's like the bedding area that we try not to have too many stands in. And that's like notorious for finding dead heads or just skulls or dead deer, because that they'll get injured and go there, lay down, and never get back up again.
I've heard, and like I said, I'm not a deer biologist, I've heard it impacts bigger deer more.
Oh, it might.
So do you know how it works, EHD?
No.
So don't quote me on this. This is what I was told. But I've heard when they have velvet, especially in a dry season, deer tend to congregate towards water. And I think when there's fewer water sources around, like these midges will congregate at these water sources where the deer do. And apparently they latch onto velvet antlers because they're trying to get to blood or something, I think, and the velvet's the thinnest spot on a deer, so they attach and infect them, and bigger antlers, just more surface area for these midges to get latched on.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have twisted the story a little bit from what I heard, but that's kind of what I put together from it.
I knew it came from like those mites, like the I knew it, the mud, and I kind of understood that, but I never understood how they actually got into the bloodstream.
So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it when it's dry and the water level starts lowering, more mud. Like I don't know, but I think
that's right, because they congregate in the mud, and then the deer get into the mud, and I think that's how they get onto them. You want to hear a crazy statistic?
Hit me.
I was looking it up today. So I was trying to figure out like the impact of EHD, and guess how many reported EHD deer there were this year?
1,000.
3,000 EHD deer. And they said that the DNR thinks that that's 10% of the total number of dead deer. So they anticipate deer populations actually reduced by 30,000 deer this year. And I think in the coming years, I think you're going to see less and less tags being given out. I don't know if it's going to go back to the days where there was just not a lot of tags out there, but yeah, I don't know. That's
the first thing they need to do is limit 1 buck tag per person.
Yeah, or shoot a doe or a buck type of program. I don't think that's a bad program at all, because I see on our property we have 30 doe or 40 doe that roam around here and there, and then you might see 2 or 3 bucks, and then of those you might get some roamers that are really nice, but people aren't shooting does. People don't shoot does I think people are more out for trophy, that big antler now. I honestly, I love bow hunting because I get to go home, cut it up, eat the meat. That's my favorite part about it.
I know Indiana switched from 2 buck tags to 1, and the class of deer just exploded.
Oh, really? Yeah, and I wonder too, because right now landowners get an additional buck tag too.
So 3.
Yeah.
I was at the taxidermist dropping off that deer I shot, and there's this giant buck ready to get mounted, and I kind of looking at him, and how that deer looks familiar. Where'd it come from? He's like, Iowa Falls. That was an EHD buck. And I got to looking at it a little bit. I had a buddy that lived in Ames that moved up there and that was hunting on a tree line, like middle of nowhere. And he was sending me pictures of like this 200-inch deer. You got to be kidding me. So fast forward a year, I'm dropping my deer off and I kind of got looking at this deer. Man, this thing's monsters, 220, whatever. And then he says Iowa Falls. I'm like, that's got to be the same deer.
The
I
same one.
got to looking at pictures and sure enough, neighbor found it EHD.
Did you, you said you're Euro mounting yours, right?
Not anymore.
You're going to keep mount it? That's literally what I was about that. I take mine to Seaman down in St. Charles. My grandpa's taken a deer to him before, and then I've had a couple other bow hunting friends that have taken deer, and it does really good work. But he said the same thing too. He said, be thankful you shot a nice buck this year because they're few and far between.
Yeah, this guy does really good work. I've never seen a 170 class in person. I've killed 3 over 155, but biggest one was 165. But I've never had anything over. Then people are out there finding 220-inch deer.
You want to hear a really crazy story? My wife's uncle has some property up in like Greene County area, and he shot one of the biggest bucks, like 190, 200 class buck. It was like 18-point buck, and that's because this property had butted up next to one of those high fence operations, and it was a tagged deer. This deer had gotten off the property and ended up in his land, and he shot it, and it's one of the biggest bucks I've ever seen.
What's he supposed to do? Let it walk? Somebody else is gonna shoot it?
No, well, that's the thing about it. Like you can do all that. I don't know if it was tagged or not now that I say that, but they had definitely, like, this high fence operation definitely had trail cam pictures of this deer, and he's got it mounted in his house. It's a beautiful deer. But yeah, I've seen a couple big bucks on that property down south, and it's always like at a point where they're either too far to shoot or it's getting too dark to shoot, and it's so frustrating when you get in that situation because you're like, oh, I sat here all night just to see him, and I saw him. And it's hard to know that. We were like, I know it's a giant buck. I don't know if it's going to go over 170 or 180 or where it is, but it's big. But it's too dark to see, and he's too far away. Those are the type of like moments hunting where you're like, I'm coming back. Like, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to sit in the stand. And then what ends up happening, you sit in that stand again, and you'll never see that deer again.
No pictures or any of that stuff.
Just disappears, and you're like, where did you never see him? And that's why when you gave your pitch, remember you're getting ready for it. I thought that was really interesting. The 21-mile deer, how big the roaming space is for some of these large bucks. That blew my mind.
I think it was 16 miles, not to correct you or anything, but
yeah,
to consistently move between two properties that are 16 miles apart, I would get lost. How is a deer finding its way?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we know. Like that could be like a middle property. It's insane. Yeah. That my guess is those deer move up and they kind of follow deer herds or they follow other. To me, I think bucks are kind of just little man whores, and they just travel. They go from pack to pack to pack to pack, and wherever they don't find competition, that's where they go.
They're like the good old boy at home that, when the family's around, he just likes being on his recliner by himself. And I think the big bucks kind of like being off on their own.
Yeah. And that it's weird because when I shot that buck this year, my grandpa was telling me a story. He's like, and it was like so he came to hunt that afternoon. I honestly thought about going home that night I shot my buck. I'm glad I didn't, because I was like, well, I'm not going to leave Grandpa to hunt down here alone, especially if he shoots a deer. I'm not going to, make him skin it and drag it. I'll be down here to help him. He was like, he always gives us. I love my grandpa for that. He always tell us something, like, and then he'll remind us like we forgot. He's told me this probably 150 times. But he's like, if you see a buck, a basket rack, 8-point, 9-point, like, get ready, but don't shoot at that one. Don't shoot at that buck, because what ends up happening is there's a bigger buck behind him, just watching that buck walk forward to see what's going to happen. So just be patient, wait for him to walk by, and then keep your eyes out behind him, because there's usually a bigger buck behind him. And it was funny, like when my grandpa told me that, I was sitting in my stand, and that big buck led the two deer. Like,
really?
The big buck that I shot was leading the two deer. And I think it was because there was pushing going on around us. Like, it just had him rattled. And so it was just ironic that he had just told me that day. Be patient. Let the big buck pass, or let the small buck pass for the big buck. It is a good reminder, especially when your knees are shaking. And it doesn't happen to me as much anymore, seeing little smaller bucks. It's just kind of more fun to watch them. But it is a good reminder for new hunters, of like, you see your first year, your adrenaline starts pumping, but just be patient. You don't have to shoot that one. And usually patience rewards you with bigger deer. So, but it just happened to be that time where I think there was so much pushing going on around for shotgun season that that big buck led the way. It was very, very strange.
So if you bow hunt, do you ever hunt like Thanksgiving weekend?
I did hunt Thanksgiving weekend. That was the weekend that my brother forgot his release.
That is my favorite weekend to hunt. Like, and it didn't start clicking till past couple of years. And I started looking back so many times over Thanksgiving weekend or something. You'll just be sitting there like bored out of your mind because you're not seeing a deer, and you look up and this is all on food plot.
Yeah.
Deer, look up one deer on the food plot, and it's a shooter. Like, I've missed most of them I've seen on Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
I think I'm just cursed, but the one I shot this year with late muzzleloader showed up on the food plot 5 minutes after I left Thanksgiving weekend. But the highest amount of shooters I've seen over the years is Thanksgiving weekend.
Thanksgiving Day was good we didn't go down
Mm-hmm.
because we were getting our fill of turkey and ham and potatoes, but on our trail cams, they were blowing up, dude. Like, and I had seen the buck I shot this year on the trail cam during Thanksgiving, and he was like, so there was that basket rack that I saw, and then there was the deer I shot, and then there was a big buck that was with that group of bucks, big one. And we haven't seen him since. So I'm hoping he survived this year and we get a shot at him next year. But, yeah, and I was patient. I was hoping that my grandpa's philosophy would be right. Like the spear buck I shot was a really nice buck. I'm mounting him too. I think he's worthy of a mount. But I was hoping that buck that I saw him with was going to be back there somewhere coming up the line. And he never came up.
You're just getting ready to pull the trigger. Okay, where's the big one? Where's the big one?
I was waiting. I was
if
like,
he doesn't show up, I'm going to shoot.
Well, the issue was he was starting to quarter up because our property starts to like go up a hill, and then we have a 4-wheeler trail that follows that hill. And he was quartering. He was probably 45 or 50 yard shot from me, and he was quartered away. And he was like, I was worried he was going to start walking up that hill and get behind trees, and I wasn't going to have a shot on him because my back was to the west, and he was walking west. So I had a shot, like that. But at some point, you're gonna get stuck. So, I did what they always. My grandpa always taught me:
don't pass on something you won't shoot on the last day.
Well, and it was honestly that was the last time I went out. I haven't gone late season bow hunting.
Is that what he used to tell you?
He was walking up, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna lose this deer. And I'm like looking behind him. I'm just like, all right, I gotta do it. So I did like the grunt, the meh, and he stops, and he kind of like looks back like this. And then he kind of like repositions. He kind of turns around and quarters the other way. And right as he turns around and quarters the other way, I shoot him. And
night.
Yep. So yeah, took a step, dropped. My brother luckily heard the shot and was still in the area, so he could come help me, come grab him. And then my grandpa came over and kind of ruined his hunt, but I think he was just happy to see that I actually shot a nice sized buck this year. So
what's your grandpa think of the cellular trail cameras? Was he pretty hesitant to start using them?
No, he likes them. He's actually the one that initiated the idea. Cause he's kind of he doesn't let anyone else hunt our property, even like friends that are like he adamantly, nobody else is to hunt our property but our family. So it's me, my brother, my uncle, and him. Like that's our property. No one else is allowed on it. But with trail cams, like we have 2 or 3 of them, the cellular trail cams. I mean, we love it because, dude, it saves us 2 hours of checking trail cam pictures. We get them instantaneously, and then we can talk about them. We can talk about it via, we have like a group chat that we talk about them in and say, did you see that one? This is the same one from last year. And he loves it. The fact that he's able to figure it out is incredible.
Yeah.
Like get it set up, but he really likes it.
You think, looking over the years, cellular trail cameras are probably like the biggest improvement to hunting, or one of your favorite new pieces of equipment? I don't know how to word that.
I think, and they're talking, that might be, I don't know. They've talked about that being a strategy of increasing deer numbers is not allowing those. I think trail cameras have been around forever, but like the idea of having to go and change out the SD card and replace the batteries and then position it, and then checking it again. And, I think it was a matter of time before I think like, wow, what a genius to say like, what a pain in the ass this is, like let's automate this. Like, I thought that was a brilliant idea. Whoever came up with the cellular trail cam. I don't think it's a bad thing though, because I think you get a better idea of what's on your property. And I think you can like play around with different positions more frequently. So you can check more spots and say, oh, I'm not getting anything in here. And you're getting it real time instead of like having to download 500 pictures, sort through them, figure out, oh, it was on this date, on that date. Like you're getting it real time. And I think like bow hunters are really good at it, like kind of remembering stuff. So like, I think like you'd say, oh, this is getting some hits. If not, we need to move it. And luckily the two spots that we had on are heavily traveled. And so we usually get some pretty good. But honestly, the next thing that I'm interested to see what is going to happen with it is drones, dude. And did I tell you about that story?
I haven't heard the story.
So yeah, this gentleman shot a deer and on his property, and he shot him with a 350. I think it was maybe on an AR platform. And he's like, I know I hit him. Like I saw the jump. He's like, but I went out there and I couldn't find like any blood. And I've heard that with 350. That's why like makes me wonder about that platform. But he's like, I couldn't.
Muzzleloaders are the same way.
Really?
I would hold off until the 400 legends start getting more information on them, because I think that's going to be the perfect
size.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so he shoots this deer. He thinks it might have been a gut shot, maybe like a back lung. So he's like, dude, I didn't find blood. I don't know how good of a shot it was. I'm backing out, right? Like the smartest thing. If you have like the patience and the resilience to not chase a deer when it's a bad shot, like that is what you have to do. So like new hunters out there, you get all jacked up, you maybe make a bad shot, but you hit the deer and it might have been a gut, like good way of telling if it's a gut shot with a deer with an arrow. You just go look at the arrow and smell. Obviously there's signs of poop and
nastiness.
It's usually not a clean arrow. A good shot is like a light, bright looking blood, whereas a darker looking blood usually indicates you've hit it too far back. And then a snapped arrow usually means you hit it too far forward. You shouldered it or something like that. But new hunters, if you shoot a deer too far back, just wait it out. That deer, what's going to happen is he's going to run 200 yards or she's going to run 200 yards. She's going to lay down, and that's where she's going to stop. If you keep pursuing, they're going to keep running. They're going to keep running. Those deer are going to live. And with the adrenaline pumping through them and the way deer blood coagulate, that deer you could push that deer for 20 hours and you still wouldn't find it. You're just going to lose it on someone else's property. So that's a little word of the wise. So this gentleman had shot this deer, couldn't find any blood. He knew it was he didn't think it was the best shot, but maybe it hit along. So he backed out and he's like, I'm going to wait overnight. It was a really nice, like 10-point buck. And he said that he had hired a drone service to do like the thermal imaging. And he just told him like the plot of land, where he shot him, where his proximity might be. And the guy went out there with his drone and found him in like 5 minutes, like literally like that.
Was he dead?
He was dead. And actually the guy was so cool. Like he was telling me the story. He's like the guy that you could tell he was a hunter too. But the drone guy brought a pack of knives out with him, because this deer was starting to bloat. And so he actually field dressed this deer for this guy. So that way the meat didn't get spoiled. So he field dressed it.
I think cell trail cameras are going to be gone within a couple of years too. There's the deer I shot this year. I was so sick of not seeing this deer come out before dark. So I told my boss, I'm done hunting. I'll be around the afternoon, because he was living across the road. Well, I got a picture at 8 o'clock in the morning. This buck was on my side of the road. Ooh. Okay, I got to go hunt him. And I killed him that night. I would not have killed him if it wasn't for cellular trail cameras.
Because he was in your timber.
Yep. I'd kind of given up for the year because I knew what he was doing, and he was never on my side of the road during daylight hours. But trail cameras told me different.
Yeah, I don't know. Trail cameras would probably be one of the first things to go. I think drones, they don't know what to do with yet. And I think there's two arguments, right? Argument one is like, don't allow drones. It's unfair for the deer, or the technology that it's like it's unfair for the deer, right? Like exactly where they're at. The other side of the argument is just like what this guy had done. He shot this deer. He didn't want to lose it, right? And he didn't want to waste the meat. And so he did the right thing by backing out. But because of this drone, he found his buck that he had shot. So like, I don't know. I think like you have to limit it to recovery purposes only, but who's going to enforce that? Like now, I don't know. That's hard.
If tracking dogs are illegal, which are they legal in Iowa?
No, you can I think you can. We need like a
Because if it's per se it's illegal, if they get rid of drones, they need to make that legal, because that improves your chance of shooting a down deer over not having one without using the technology.
the use of unleashed blood tracking dogs for recovering wounded deer is legal in Iowa.
Is it?
As of 2020. Exchange allows hunters to utilize trained dogs on a leash to track and recover deer that have been shot but not immediately found.
So it was illegal before 2020.
Yeah.
I thought I remember that being illegal at one time. I know a kid a couple years ago, it might have been last year, got a pretty heavy ticket for using one of those drone companies to find his deer in Iowa.
I don't know. That's why I'm not saying this guy's name, because I don't know if it's completely legal, but he's like, listen, I'm not letting this deer go to waste. And that's what's going to end up. All the meat's going to go bad if I don't do this. Or so he thought. I think, let me see. So are drones legal in Iowa too? I've looked this up and I think it says it's like a gray area.
Probably at the DNR officer's discretion.
The January 16, 2025, the use of drones for recovering wounded deer in Iowa remains illegal. In January 2024, Representative of the House proposed the use of registered unmanned UAVs for the retrieval of wounded deer. However, the bill did not advance. So consequently, a prohibition on using drones in Iowa still affects. So they try to legalize it for Iowa.
The issue isn't finding a down deer. It's limiting it to finding that one down deer. Like this example you gave me, like great, went out and found the deer, but all the other extracurricular stuff he was doing that could have benefited the hunter the next day, boy, you can't.
I think I'm just expressing the argument of like why people want to use it.
Oh yeah.
I honestly, I think I would get pissed if I was out in the tree stand and I saw a drone fly over my head tracking a deer. I would get really frustrated. Like that's probably more invasive than like just coming across someone walking on my timber. I think I'd be just as pissed. So, I mean, imagine that, like someone's deer reporting your property. I would be so mad if I saw.
Well, that deer drone recovery, I mean, they got a ton of money in that stuff, and I don't think they'll be able to keep the government off their back for too much longer.
And who knows? I mean, and the drone industry is so weird anyways, because a lot of those things are made in China, and they're starting to blacklist some of these companies that have China-made parts. And so I don't know. I think that's the new frontier, though. This was the argument they were having about trail cameras like 20 years ago. And then when cell cameras came out, like this was the same argument they're having. I think it's just like, how much do we want this sport and this recreational activity to be like pure, how much advantage do we want to give a hunter as compared to a deer? I think we need to, like, as we've seen deer numbers just dwindling, I think we got to start going the other way. It's like a pendulum. I think we got to start restricting the use of some of these things, because at some point you're just not going to see big deer anymore in Iowa.
I think the size of deer in Iowa, overall high level, has gone down over the past 15 and 20 years. And I don't know if it's trail cameras or what, but
you want my thought? I think it's, honestly, I think it's the rifle. I think allowing high, I think that's one of the factors, because what did they just made that lawful 4 or 5 years ago, using rifle hunting in Iowa.
I think it's the quality of deer started going down before that. It could be. I personally don't think it's the rifle, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. It's definitely something that I think we're gonna, in the next couple of years, we're gonna start seeing regulations going back the other way, though, reducing the things that we can use. That's why your app's going to be really, really helpful, especially if you can do some of those things that we've talked about. I'm not going to try and say too much, but your app is going to be really cool when you get some of those features rolled out. Yeah, I don't know. I think probably they will restrict restrict some of these things, especially for in season. Because they stopped doing like the salt blocks. Like there's things that they have to do so you can't hunt. Like you could still have them on your property, but you obviously can't hunt over them. Do you eat like your deer meat, or do you like backstrap? Do you cook it that way, or do you like turning into the jerky?
I don't keep any of my deer. So I love the taste of deer, but you gotta remember, my dad and brother raised 2,500 head of fat cattle.
Yeah.
So when I always have a freezer full of that, it's just not worth my time to process and spend the money on processing.
Yeah.
When there's
I never had that. I never had that privilege of having cattle in my. I mean, we would have to buy it, and my grandpa fed my mom for a lot of years just on deer meat and processing it. And now you can call me crazy all you want, but I actually prefer deer meat to cow. Like obviously, I can't do the same things as I can do with beef, right? I can't make a brisket. There's just not enough fat deposit into it. But like what I like a backstrap, like a backstrap, and I'll make like I'll get it cooked up to like a 155, 160 on the grill, pull it off. It's still really tender. It's not dried out. And then I make like a horseradish type of sauce with it, like you would like a steak sauce. And man, like I prefer that to a T. I think a T-bone steak just tastes a little too fatty. You know, I know it sounds crazy, and people are like, "You're out of your mind." Like I prefer it though. I just don't.
There's a lot
prefer
of
all
times
the
I'd
fat.
rather have deer burger than beef burger
And it's good, like especially like so. I'm actually
and
in my
chili or something.
chip tacos. I a lot of times what I'll do with deer meat too, because I do all my own processing. I'll get some Graziano and I'll mix some Graziano in there and make like an Italian sausage blend. Dude, it's really good. So I'll do that with tacos, or not tacos, spaghetti. I mean, we make a bunch of different dishes with it. And then I'll get some Jimmy Dean sausage or like some breakfast sausage, and I'll mix some of that. And my wife does really good biscuits and gravy for us in the morning. So that's like always a treat, dude. There's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, like your inner loins, your back straps, like those are the things that I grew up on. I think that was some of my favorite meals I ever had from my grandpa. He'd have a back strap, and he would always steak them, cutting them into small, like kind of thin strips. And then he would just have he would have that, and salt and pepper was all the seasoning. And then he would just have a piece of toast, and that's how we would eat it, man. It was so good. It was, that's what got me hooked on it. And it was like a treat because I could only have it at grandpa's house. Like my mom ate so much deer meat as a kid that she does not eat deer meat now. She won't touch it.
I love the tenderloin and the backstrap, and I would have no problem cutting those out and doing the work. But if I'm giving the rest of the deer away, I feel kind of bad. I don't want to process this so you can have all the meat. But by the way, I took all the good meat out of it.
Well, I mean, the thigh meat, dude. The thigh meat's some of my other favorite meat. I'll make roast. So I'll do like a carrot and onion roast. I'll throw some some onion, some French onion cubes in there, and with some water, and then like half a bottle of red wine. And I'm telling you, like I eat so much deer meat. I have 120 pounds of deer meat in my freezer right now, and that will be gone probably by June or July, I bet.
Really?
And my wife's family, they all, her grandpa has a bunch of cattle. And so we have access to beef. I've gotten so accustomed to deer meat that I don't know, call me crazy, but I almost think like a steak anymore almost tastes too fatty. Like the coating on my mouth, I just don't like it as much.
Have you ever had pheasant?
Dude, I love pheasant. Yes.
That's my favorite wild game.
I think, yeah, breaded pheasant with mashed potatoes, corn, and gravy is like
Like a country gravy.
Dude, like one of the best meal. I think like if you were to say like, hey, you're on death row, what's going to be your meal? I think if you propose that as an option, I think that would probably be a top.
That, and the other good way of doing it is filling a crock pot full of some stuffing, put your chicken breast in there. So tender.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I do like frying it in oil, and then the country gravy and mashed potatoes.
So when I lived in Des Moines, it's crazy too, the level of different types of the hunting like community, the different hunting communities. I don't know if you've run across any other hunting communities. There's some people that are like, they're so avidly against compound bows. Have you ever run into those groups?
Not that group, but The neighbor that has all the big deer across the road, they spend 80% of the time over there and 20% over mine.
Yeah.
He's like anti-kill deer with guns. I'm like, dude, piss off. I'm not that good of a hunter. I have a hard enough time killing one with a gun. What
Yeah.
difference does it make?
Yeah. No, I've met those people too. I don't, those people don't, it is, I just think that hunting as it is, like, we need to be like, there's so few of us that still do it. And there's always people that don't understand hunting as is, and they're trying to take that right away from people. And they're always like, Iowa, we don't have that problem, right? Because we live in a state where we value that. But some of the states that have turned Democrat and they vote that way. Like, I'm an independent, so don't put me in red or blue. I'm a true independent. But you're seeing stuff out of Colorado and Wyoming and Utah restricting the hunting of
Illinois.
wolves, and you're like, man, that's just decimating the moose population out there or the elk population out there. But yeah, I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. I wish I was a good enough hunter to hunt bow only, but I'm just not there yet. As long as, I mean, the main purpose for getting people out, however they can get out, that's kind of what I support.
Just get out in the woods and enjoy and appreciate it. Because I think so much of our lives are online anymore. Kind of like this, so much of our lives are online. Get out and just get connected to the woods and the recreation, man. Because it's such a fun sport. But yeah, that community of like traditional bow hunting is like nothing else. So when I lived in Des Moines, I went to this archery shop, like in the heart of Des Moines, like a metropolitan center. And there's like a shop, and the guy who runs it his name's Barefoot Tom. He still has a shop. So if y'all want a traditional bow, I suggest you buy one from him. It's such a different type of like environment. Like, these guys know, like, they could look at a traditional wood crafted bow and they could tell you who made that bow just by the artistic design of it. And there's bowyers across Iowa that are really well known. They make their own bows. They make their own arrows, the different type of woods they use. It's just a whole different community that, like, from a compound guy, like, I have my kind of higher tech compound bow. I have like all of my gear. These guys are still doing it with like, the traditional recurve or your longbow. But he had like an archery setup. So before I would go out and hunt, I would go practice at their course. And they always made fun of me. They'd look at me and say, "Oh, yeah, I see you still have your training wheels on. Just let us know when you want to take those off." Like, they were just like pulling your chain. We would all get along. But I always thought it was funny because, like, well, who brought deer this year and who didn't? Because we would have like they'd have like an annual party. Yeah, we'd just get together and everyone would bring different meals. And I always brought like maybe a bacon wrapped backstrap or something like that. I'm like, well, I don't see you guys bringing backstrap to this party, so
I need all the help I can get killing deer. So
it's not easy.
No,
I think people who think it is. I kind of got lucky because my grandpa made all the mistakes for me. You know what I mean? My grandpa was hunting probably 15 or 20 years before me, and he made a lot of those mistakes and passed them on to me, which I still make, but I just don't do them as frequently. And then starting at a young age does really help, like, especially with like your accuracy, like knowing when you're clenching your bow, knowing not to drop your arm, like just the repetitiveness of that. When did you start bow hunting?
Would have been 2000, early 2000, like 2002 or something.
How old were you though?
But you don't know how old I am now? I must have been 13, 14.
Yeah. That's when I went out hunting for the first time. Did you shoot a bow ever before that?
No, as soon as I got a bow, I started going out, but took me a long time to kill one.
Yeah.
Not because I was missing, because I didn't have anybody to teach me how to hunt, where to go. I was probably scaring the whole woods out, walking out, didn't know any better, couldn't sit still.
Learning the wind, learning the deer signs.
Oh, I didn't know
where to put your all that stuff. Like I got like a crash course in it when I was like 10, 11, and 12. So did your dad never hunt or any of your other family?
I was the only one that really took up bow hunting. My brother did it just a little bit, but it didn't catch on. I started hunting with my dad shotgun hunting.
Yeah. Like, I got blessed. With that. Like, I got the crash course in it, and I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of had to teach myself. You know how dads are, tries telling you, you should do this and this and this. You've never been bow hunting, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the advice.
But anyways, once I got to college, I started being around more people that bow hunted a lot, and that kind of helped me out a lot. But they're hunting down southern Iowa. I didn't really have anybody to teach me the way of the land up there.
Yeah,
Every area is different.
for sure. Yeah, being able to read fingers of a property or where the deer traverse. Like, it took me a long time to figure out the property that my grandpa even owned. He knew it like the back of his hand, but just like me, it took me a long time to be like, I know, like in a northwest wind, a cold wind, I know where the deer are going to be sitting, just because I know where the low point is and where there's a hill, and they're going to be sitting outside of they want to get low and not in the wind. Like, there's just so many of those things where I think you just have to go enough times to learn it. But I did definitely have an advantage of having a grandpa who had gone for 20 years before. Just like, my grandpa would always give us good information and good insight. Like, he's like, every morning you wake up, you check the wind, and then he'd give you the rundown, right? So like, deer walk into the wind that way. And I mean, so it's like, it's just those things that you get repeated to, and then you just start to learn them. And hopefully, he actually gave me his deer journal, the first journal he ever bought, that helped him learn how to bow hunt. And it's like a paperback, like, it's in my safe right now, because it's one of those, like one of my most precious items of, like, I never want to get rid of this. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that I really hope. It's one of those things that I really hope that my son is into, but I'm not trying to push it onto him, because I think the more you pressure it, but I hope one day he's interested in hunting so I can pass some of this on.
You said your grandpa made a lot of mistakes, so you didn't have to. Curious to hear, so something we're going to do for each episode is try to get some embarrassing stories out of hunters. Dumbest thing or most embarrassing hunting story.
Okay, so I could count them on two hands, and I could share a couple of them. I think one of the most embarrassing things, and it's kind of gross, and so I'm sorry to your listeners, but I think one of the most embarrassing things is like when you go out hunting, and I've done this at least 2 times, and not packing teepee, and then you're just like, what do I go home after that. Like, if I don't pack teepee, and I have to take a crap out in the woods. No one prepared me for that. Like,
Yep.
like, there's no bathrooms out. Like, you gotta do that. And then, yeah, if you don't bring toilet paper out there, I made that mistake. I think every hunter has, of like, wow, I didn't bring anything to wet my ass with, and now I have to have one of the worst drives home of my life. Or you have to burn a sock. And I've burned several socks, because I'm just like, I'd rather be sockless than making that drive.
Well, you're clearly not learning from your mistakes if you've had to burn several.
Oh, dude, no, I haven't made that mistake in a couple of years, but it took, like, when I was in college, and I was kind of like 18 to 22 or 23, like, the last thing you're thinking about, because you have all this gear you're trying to pack, the last thing you're thinking about is like toilet paper. You have to take a shit, right? So that was I made that mistake several times, and I could tell you like an actual practical like time that I made a mistake. So I'll tell you the story about the time that I would have passed up the largest archery buck of my life. And this is kind of a word of the wise for any of those of you out there. So I was going bow hunting one day. It was probably, I don't know, 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And I was sitting kind of in our piece of our property where it's right next to our CRP, but it's within the woods a little bit, but there's like a patch of area where there's not a lot of trees. In my body, I was facing like an area where deer are known to walk up. And so I was hunting a lot then, so I should have known better. But I think I was hunting so much that, like, I don't want to say I was getting bored of it, but like I would be on my cell phone, dude. I'd be playing a game or something, or I'd be checking sports scores. And so I got up in my stand. I'd hunted in the morning, and I think that's part of it. I hunted in the morning, so you're kind of tired. I was on my phone, playing on my phone, and I look up, and there's this giant, like, dude, massive buck right in front of me. And I don't have my bow in my hands. It's on the hanger. I haven't stood up. And so I kind of like panic, and like, he's walking right. He's walking from my south. So yeah, so I'm looking right at him. And so I'm like, okay, but you kind of panic. And I was kind of like waiting for him to get behind a log so I could stand up. And so yeah, it's like a giant deer. So your heart rate's racing. I was not ready. And at this point, I would have seen him had I not been on my phone. And so I stand up really quick. I try to grab my bow. And by that point, he was 60 yards into the woods. And I regretted that day. You go home and you dream about that.
Is that when you got rid of Facebook? You told me you got rid of Facebook because you kept spending too much time on it or something.
I definitely did. I don't think it was because of that. I think it's like kind of an idea I had before having Nolan of like, I don't want to spend that much time on social media. And then like the content coming off Facebook, I was like, this is all crap anyways. So that's when I made the decision. I've had Facebook for almost 2.5 years now. The one other story, and this was one of the days where you contemplating quit bow hunting like forever.
We've all been
So,
there.
dude, so this is probably the worst experience I've ever had hunting, and dude, I even like shed a couple of tears because I was so pissed. So I shoot. I bought this brand new PSC, one of the John Dudley knock-on bows, and I spent a lot of money on it. And it was probably, I don't know, with all the attachments, it's probably like a $1,500 bow. And so I never had bought a brand new bow before. I always had my grandpa's hand-me-downs or like secondhand bows, stuff that I could afford. And don't get me wrong, those deer, that'll kill deer, but I wanted something that would shoot fast and I was proud of. And so I'd killed a couple of deer earlier in the year, and I think I did anyways. I know I had killed a deer with this bow before. Well, sitting in our north ladder stand, and another one of these like big, it was like a 10-point, probably would have been like a 150, 160 class buck. Something to be really proud of with a bow. He comes walking up. I'm sitting in my north ladder stand faces south. And the way that the deer come in, they come in from the kind of like the northeast. They follow, and they make a line behind the tree. So you have to kind of do like a one of these behind the tree to shoot it, or they'll cut a path right in front of your tree, like, cause it kind of wise like that.
Mhm.
This big buck, there were some other deer that had come by. This big buck wise to the north of me. And so I'm getting it's kind of nice when that happens because you're right behind the tree. So like there's no risk of them seeing you. And so I got my arrow knocked, and I'm kind of waiting for a time to pull back. And he comes walking across the backside, and I start to pull back. And this is a new bow. These new bows have open cams on both of the cams, right? They have open holes. Well, my bow does anyways. So I go to pull back, and something fell off when I pulled back. Like I knocked something. I was like, I have no idea what that was. And so like, I'm like, I see this deer, and I'm like, kind of like looking at my bow. I'm like, what the hell just happened? And what had happened was my cam had gotten onto one of my bag, like my backpack holder, one of those like spikes that come out of the tree.
Oh, yep.
I had put my cam in one of the holes, and they didn't realize it and pulled back. And then I shot, and then it just, my arrow went like probably 5 miles an hour. I could have thrown an arrow faster than the arrow came out of my bow, and it landed. And dude, I was so pissed. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna go get another arrow and put it in my bow and try and shoot him. Dude, no, my string had gotten off of my cam. My cam was all jacked up, and I busted the Y spacer on my string. My bow was all this brand new bow that I had just bought. I was so proud of, just busted on all the shit. I just thought, dude, I am so sick of bow hunting. Like, I'd gone out so much. I'd finally I did all the right things. I had this big buck in sight, and then I break my bow.
So how, like, you, in the process of pulling back, you somehow caught that spike?
Yeah. So I think what happened is because, the tree, I had to turn towards the tree to get a shot on him.
Yep.
So I think what happened is I had my release on my knock, and I kind of turned to get a position, and then I pulled back. And when I had turned to get into position, I think that the bow hanger metal piece got stuck in my cam. And so I pulled up like that, and I shot, and it messed up my whole cam. I had to go take my bow, and it got fixed. Luckily, I didn't break anything or like seriously damage anything. It was only like $100 to fix. But the shittiest part about it was like the humbling experience of, I think this, like, dude, like in my head, I think this deer knew I couldn't kill it. Cause like normally that happens, and they're gone like that, dude. They're gone. This deer didn't, dude. He just hung out. He kind of went over and sniffed the arrow. He kind of just walked his like, wait. And I was pissed, dude. Like, I think I might even yelled like, cause it felt like this deer was mocking me. Like, this deer was just kind of like up there walking, and it's a really nice, I'm just sitting there watching, like, what a bonehead, dude. Like I got back in my truck and I was driving home. I was calling some bow shops to try and figure out where I'm gonna get this thing fixed. Luckily I had a backup bow that I could use. But dude, I was at the point of like, dude, am I a good hunter? Should I even be out here? Like I make a mistake like that. Yeah, I had dreams of that deer in that situation probably, I don't know, 10 times after missing that shot and busting my bow up. That was probably my biggest bow mess up ever, was doing something. You probably have never done something like that insane.
I was hunting fence line and barbed wire fence. I'm lowering my bow down, and it would have been a pretty new bow at the time, a couple years old. And I don't know if the string got stuck on a branch, and I'm just trying to like shake it loose. All of a sudden it just dropped. Like, are you kidding me? And I didn't realize it hit the barbed wire, but it's still intact. So I go home, turn the shop lights on, set the target out, get ready to pull it back, and it just exploded.
The whole bow, like
the string snapped. The strings must have snapped like at 3/4 draw, literally shattered, and like my limbs were shot, all warped and stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I would be pissed. That's where you have to get old. Luckily my limbs were injured on my bow, so I could still use it. But I would have been pissed if I was in your situation.
Yeah. That was one time I was about ready to give up. Still more to come.
Man.
But
yeah, there's going to be several times where you have that. But that's why you got to get a backpack. You got to get, you asked me about my favorite piece of equipment that I use.
Yep.
I found it. It's called my favorite piece of equipment that I currently have is the Insights Hunting by Frog Togs. It's a backpack that you can put your bow inside of your bag as you walk up. And it's a really comfortable backpack. It's really large. Really, I think it's built for like Western hunting. I love it just because I have all the space to use it. It's got a bunch of clips and stuff. It's expensive, but it's my favorite piece of hunting equipment that I have. It's got like a felt liner where you can place your bow, and it's my favorite piece of equipment that I own, next to probably a standard pair of binoculars.
When you hunt ladder stands, it's a lot easier compared to I have to crawl under branches and stuff like that, so there's no way I'd get away with that.
Yeah. Yeah, luckily most of our stuff is pretty accessible. But yeah, we have, I think 20 some odd hunting our free stands on our property. And I would say at any given wind, we probably have 2 to 5 stands that you can sit in, that we can make it work. Yeah, it's a cool piece of property that we had. We've had it since 2008 and almost 20 years now. So that's the result of having a piece of property for 20 years, just learning where they come from, where they go, and the wind, and
stockpiling tree stands.
Yeah, my grandpa's notorious about that. I actually put one up. I put up a tree stand this year, and I was so frustrated, dude. I was like calling my grandpa. I was like, why? Like, we are missing pieces of this, like bolts from this tree stand. But where are? He's like, well, last year I put up a tree stand and I lost some bolts and I didn't have them, so I borrowed them from this tree stand. I was like, well, now I can't. Like, I had this whole thing put together and I didn't have all the right bolts for this tree stand. And it was like a double bench, like probably $150 tree stand or $200 tree stand. It was like, you can't just pull bolts from another tree stand to use. Yeah, it's just,
yes, you can. I do it all the time and I regret it.
Don't do it. Don't do that. I was so frustrated because I built the bench part of it. And then I was like, trying to build where you put your feet. And I was like, I'm missing pieces and this is not working right. And I was getting pissed, but yeah, it turns out that's exactly what happened. 6 or 7 of the bolts were missing because my grandpa was missing bolts from his.
Blame it on grandpa. I suppose. It's good having you on today.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, dude.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of A Hunter's Legacy. Remember, hunting isn't just about the harvest. It's about the journey and the legacy we all leave behind. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with all the other hunters in your life. And if you have a story to tell, we'd love to hear it, because every hunter has a legacy worth sharing.